Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to respond once again to Zach George being triggered by way of the Balanced Dog Trainers Remote Collar Study put on by Ivan Belanoff. And here in this video, once again, Zach George going into some of the details of the study and attempting to explain or reconcile this idea that trains a learning-based exercise by way of using treats. So I'm going to play just a part of this clip here in regards to bribery-based methodology. Again, I talk about balanced dog trainers, why they're in a trap, they're in a catch-22 position, based again on buying into this idea that training is a learning-based exercise once a relationship problem is underway. So even the word behavior, I talk about that, how that is being misused in the dog training world. It lacks any sort of depth. It doesn't connect the right way, and it's used within the framework of superficial response. And so again, when I talk about behavior, I'm talking about the relationship by way of a expressed state. Okay, so again, I talk about control manifesting in various ways towards other dogs, other people. And so again, I tie it in the right way. So again, when I talk about the role of influence, okay, to intercept, okay, an expressed state, understand that that's what defines the role of influence. Okay, and I talk about that. But again, balanced dog trainers have bought into this whole learning, ideology. So, we talk about, the role of influence, or you talk about the dog's state of mind in terms of as the dog's expressing control. Balanced dog trainers have bought into this thing with shifting focus, okay, in terms of even certain methods such as counter conditioning, behavioral adjustment training. They have bought into this. So again, this is a problem in the dog training world. So again, I'm going to play just part of this again to provide clarity. You see Zach George kind of scrambling around here. He's trying to trying to reconcile learning. You're going to hear this on this clip, and I'm going to stop along the way and just to really be clear, okay, about this very popular idea that trains a learning-based exercise, the problems with using treats and with bribing dogs, okay, to respond, to shift focus. How again that leads people into inherently flawed assumptions, okay, bad outcomes, okay, assuming that that change is happening when it's not.
We do as positive trainers, we don't say, yes, drop a treat, come get a treat, don't chase that thing, because that's essentially what they were doing in the study. It was banana, drop a treat in a bowl, and if they didn't come back and chase the thing, then I guess that's supposed to be evidence positive reinforcement doesn't work. That is a dramatic oversimplification of how.
So I want to talk about some of the foundation here too, in terms of relationship, okay, in terms of how a dog's decision-making process, overall decision-making process, is governed. Okay, understand this comes through the relationship. Okay, so even if you introduce dogs into a study, okay, understand that in terms of their current state of mind, it's based on the overall decision-making process, which aligns with the relationship itself through how they're connecting with other dogs and the human. So understand when you put a dog into any sort of a study, understand that every dog could be different in the way that they're going to respond to the human based on, on the developmental part of the relationship where that dog is currently at in that. Okay, so understand there's dynamics there that that will affect, right, this type of a study at that at that kind of entry point of using a treat, okay, or even a remote collar. So you talk about dogs, yelping, okay, it plays all into that, even in terms of alignment, in terms of association and through a particular person who's developed a relationship with the dog. So understand that the study itself is already flawed. Just I want to put it out there. That's already a flawed study, based again on the intent or goal here of trying to, you know, reveal a problem with something. And so this oversimplification, well, that's actually true, okay, in terms of even reconciling certain reactions, okay? Understand that at a social level, any sort of study has to align the right way, okay? It's got to play into the relationship as the kind of the jumping off point in that, okay, to align, say, a tool. So, for example, through the system of training, the foundation of change is through the interaction part of it, okay? Influence and control, aligning for a certain period of time in the relationship, okay? So it could be over a period of, you know, say 2-3 weeks, and then combined, you know, with that, aligned with that, the remote collar. Okay, so understand that, you know, it branches off. So when you introduce a device into a study, okay, and this is an example of that, it has to come in, has to align the right way. There has to be consideration as to certain dynamics, but the foundation itself, see, that's the problem here. The foundation itself has to be right from the beginning. I talk about that. And so this is where things go sideways in any study or any interpretation of even a reaction of a dog. Okay, it's gotta right from the. It's just like when a dog comes into your home environment. Okay, before they even have a drink of water or a bite of food, that connection socially, that's a big deal. That's happening right away. Okay, it's already setting up either a problem or it's coming together through, you know, how you're interacting, through how you're connecting, through the relationship. So I'll say that when you're doing any sort of study, that has to be taken into consideration. Okay, just if you're just like taking a dog and then, you know, and then bringing these remote collars online or even treats. Okay, for example, you know, a dog that if the right foundation's there and the perception of dogs have changed the right way, okay, and that dog is on the treat side of things, and you say, come, okay, perception of dog change, that dog's going to come, is going to come, even though there's a treat involved, okay, based again on how that dog's perception of change, based again on even through the human, okay. So understand that, you know, what supersedes the problems here. So when you introduce anything, understand it's really about the individual, okay. It goes down, it's depth of relationship. So by understand that because the dog training world is based off of appearances and it lacks depth, it doesn't connect dots properly. When you go into any sort of a study, those dots aren't going to be connecting right from the start. Okay, and then you're trying to connect the dot. Okay, but you know, but there's no foundation in terms of, you know, so everything starts from the right foundation, and then the remote collar is an extension of that. I talk about that. So here, you know, this is why no balanced dog trainer study or force-free study is going to advocate properly, is not going to line up, period. Because the starting point isn't right, okay? Socially, okay? You have to see, this is where these things keeps spinning around and there's no resolution, there's no clarity here.
How positive reinforcement training works. So for example, the way that I routinely show you on my videos, and other trainers often work on this in the positive reinforcement space, is they work on extensive proofing of dogs in various environments to make sure that the dog understands how to listen in various environments. We don't just do this in a couple of days.
So here he goes, right? Like Zach George is talking about, you know, give it time. You know, bribing these dogs, you know, takes time. Those are my words, but that's what's going on, right? Using the treats, bribing these dogs. But again, factor in the other dynamics I talk about in terms of the individual. I talk about that, what supersedes the problem. So totality of the relationship. See, there's influence and control happening through the relationship, okay, beyond just a 15-minute idea of what training is. Okay, so understand that, you know, it's depth of relationship. So these are the things that aren't factored in, because these are things are lost on all these trainers. Okay, understand, force-free and balance. They can't factor that in because they're not dialed in. Okay, they're not dialed in to the relationship that way. So here if Zach George says, well, you have to give it more time. See, these are always the outs here. These are always the exceptions, right? They try to make these the exceptions, right? And this plays into this appearance-based narrative. You can all this is where the statement comes from. There's more than one way to train a dog. Just think about that, right? All appearance-based. When you're dealing with just everything superficial and appearance-based, then you can it's like a shell game. You can change it up any way you want and make all sorts of arguments when the foundation isn't right, because you have to walk this back. Okay, talk about this. It's got to start when you talk about this a study that comes together the right way through the social aspect of connection. Well, you have to consider certain dynamics right away to line it up properly. Okay, it's like the foundation. Like I said, when I'm walking into a home environment. Okay, it's like your parenting style. It has to be set. Okay, that's what's going to reveal. That's what's going to give you the right information in real time. That's what's going to. So those core ingredients, they have to be there from the beginning. Okay, and the social aspect of that has to come together. So I understand that you have to put some critical thinking. Critical thinking has to be involved here. This study with remote collars through balanced dog training. It's superficial at its core anyway from the get-go, because it doesn't align through at the social level. It doesn't factor any of that in that I talked about, like in terms of developmental. So when you put in a certain control group, right? That was a problem at the beginning from Pavlov and Skinner. You go back to, the clue was there when they had to remove the research assistant out of it was like, no, we're going to decide, right? And that's the problem. We're going to decide. See, all just superficial. So the depth part of it comes through the social aspect of the relationship coming together, and then you move forward from there. Okay? It's like, but here this isn't the case.
Furthermore, it's not apples to apples. You can't compare positive reinforcement to punishment in this regard. One of them is suppressing. The other approach is...
See, there's that word, right? And that's always the exception clause, right? To those who advocate this bribery-based idea things. Well, it's not really changing. You're suppressing. It's interesting. You see a lot of balanced dog trainers use those words about suppressing, right? Think about that. It's the same language that comes out of the balanced dog training community, from even like drive-based trainers. Compulsion. You hear all the same language. Well, why do you think you hear the same language, right? Because it's totally, it doesn't line up. Like it's not coming through a interaction-based type of method.
Is optimized for future growth and learning for that animal in a productive way that doesn't cause side effects. Suppression and training are two different things. And so essentially here, they're kind of comparing.
Say suppression, training. And again, I talk about the whole thing with agreeableness, right? Those themes, right? Offering up a false image, right? How a dog that has gained a massive amount of control can look balanced. Okay. See, this is the thing, because it's the foundation, it's the starting point. Like, understand that, here you have trainers, that this is where, again, you never gain any clarity here through balance and force free, because both these groups are focused on appearances. The dots don't connect at the beginning anyway. And so that's why there's always that thing, well, it just appears to work, but you're suppressing the drive of the dog. Or the dog really appears to work, but the dog is afraid of the dog owner as a result. Why do you think they get away with saying that stuff all the time? Because they're engaging another group, balanced dog trainers, who are superficially focused as well. I mean, they bought into this lie, and so it just keeps circling around.
Comparing apples to oranges. Does suppression work when you get shocked at the neck to keep you from chasing a lure? Yeah, that would work for me too. Does dropping a treat in a bowl keep your dog from chasing a lure? No, but nobody ever suggested that should work either. So that is a misrepresentation wholeheartedly.
See, it's always about the escape clause here, right? I understand the only reason, force-free trainers have even got, to this level of being able to get away with what they're doing is because of the confusion that comes to the dog training community, and specifically, I put a lot of this blame at the feet of balanced dog trainers. They bought into this, right? I mean, they bought into it, and now they're trying to make it work out somehow. You can't. Yeah, I'm very clear about what training is. It's not a learning based exercise. So there it is right there. And so this whole thing with this study, you know, it's superficial in itself because it doesn't account for the social dynamic, how that comes together the right way. You have to link that up. It's got that's got to be your foundation from the beginning. I mean, dogs are pack animals, right? That's how the decision making process is governed. So when I talk about behavior, you can pay attention to these trainers. They all use that word in a superficial way. I talk about an express state. Controls manifesting. There's a difference, and I talk about the role of influence to intercept that state of mind. And balanced dog training use the word correction, but they also, right? They buy in they talk about learning and all this stuff, and the 4 quadrants and response that way. So they're in that, they're in that trap. They can't provide clarity that way. They're just like they're wishy-washy. They're all over the place. So all to say that this study, okay, all it does is just trigger off more people in the dog training community. See Zach George, that's his escape. But that's what forestry trainers have been saying all along. They're all kind of exception clause. It appears to work, but you suppress the drive of the dog. But then the same language comes to a lot of these balanced dog training. It's incredible what's going on in the dog training world. I mean, this is why I say, why do you think balanced dog trainers sound just like forest-free trainers? The only difference is balanced dog trainers are trying to, justify bringing influence in by way of remote collars and even corrections, and they're being challenged at all levels all the time. Why do you think that is? Because in the words of Robert Cabral, right, there's 2 sides to the coin. What's the coin? Learning. Right? Think about that. So anyway, I encourage you can check out the study yourself. You're going to see more of this. Like I said, I'm just putting out some video content, just to offer some more perspective here, where you're not seeing clarity. You're never going to see the force-free dog training community accept this study that way, right? I mean, they aren't ever going to do it. And why would they? I mean, that's the other thing that I find incredible. Like, why would force-free trainers accept anything coming out of the balanced dog training community when they're saying that they give force-free trainers a ideological hall pass all the time, and they employ the same methods. They use treats, clickers, behavioral adjustment training, counter conditioning. I go through all of it. So why would the forestry community ever, submit to or embrace any sort of a study coming from the balanced dog training that confused and compromised balanced dog training community? It's never going to happen. Thanks for watching.